Welcome to the Nerdstalgic podcast with your host, the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm.
Howdy Beans, and welcome back to another exciting side quest episode of the Nerdstalgic podcast. I'm your host, Luke the Autobot. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all good, as per usual. Before we get into today's topic, I want to do with housekeeping, because I like to keep my house nice and clean. So you can follow me on Twitter at nerdstalgic_pod. If you listen to this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And finally, if you listen to this on Spotify on your mobile phone, then don't forget to leave a follow and to leave a rating, 5-star rating on the podcast. So today we're going to be looking at Transformers 1. I'm really excited to talk about this movie, and I was planning to do a full episode and to really look into this film, but because of how busy my schedule was and how busy Halloween was, I figured I'd do a short side quest sort of review, and that way I can still sort of cover the movie. But I'm absolutely excited. If you have seen my review of the 1980s Transformers, the movie review, if you haven't, by all means, go back and check that out. You know how much of a Transformers fan I am, and that when this trailer for this came out, I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit apprehensive because I wasn't sure as to what they were going for. But as more of the trailers came out and word of the mouth has come out since, because this movie came out at the end of September in America, and then this film didn't come out until sometime the beginning of October here in the UK, that from all the word of mouth, everybody's telling me that the movie's a lot more deeper and it's more than skin deep. Like, this movie is dark, and like it's not like it was advertised for children, but this is not really like your classic sort of children's Transformers movie. This is like the Transformers that you wanted when you were like back in the 80s when you're very young. This is like for the adult, grown up sort of mature, shall we say, Transformers fans, like which I am. So from hearing all those things and what everybody said and looking at the trailers, I just wanted to cover this film, even if it was only in a short way. I just wanted a way to give it a go. Like, I'm going to watch it this afternoon, but obviously by the time that this episode comes out sometime at the beginning of November, I would have already seen it. But I just wanted to talk about it and give it a bit of a coverage. So this is going to be a quick one as a side quest, so it's not going to be very long. So I'm going to be getting through it quite quickly. So the movie synopsis is quite short. It's Optimus Prime and Megatron, as former friends, bond like brothers. Their relationship ultimately changes Cybertron's fate forever. So that is the synopsis for the movie. As for the cast, you've got Chris Hemsworth as Orion Pax, Brian T. Henry as D16, Scarlett Johansson as Alita 1, Keegan-Michael Key as B127, Steve Buscemi as Starscream, Lawrence Fishburne as Alphatron. You've got John Hamm as Sentinel Prime, Vanessa Licora as Archinold, John Bailey as Soundwave, Jason Alvarez as Shockwave, and Ian Michael Lee as Jazz. So that is your cast. To be honest, I was a little bit on the side of sort of kind of like when they announced that Chris Hemsworth was going to be the new voice of Optimus Prime, I did sort of sigh. If I'm being honest, I was like, oh God, it's going to be another sort of Chris Pratt sort of situation where they just got sort of the new sort of popular guy to do the voice. Because I'm very much the fact of I've got no issue of celebrities, high-paying sort of big popular celebrities doing animated movies. I've got no issue with that. But I'm still on the side of I feel like it should go to voice actors first, not just get a big name actor, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. From what I've seen from the trailer and what people have told me, Chris Hemsworth does a fantastic job, but obviously I won't put any opinion on it until I've actually watched the movie myself. Same with Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron. I've heard a fantastic thing as him. Keegan-Michael Key plays Bumblebee. Bumblebee's my favourite character, and I love Keegan-Michael Key, so I'm looking forward to see how he does the voice. Steve Buscemi as Starscream just sounds so... Like, at first you sit there and go, that doesn't work, but it does, because if you know Starscream and you know his character and who Starscream is, having Steve Buscemi as the voice of Starscream is just ingenious. It's just so smart and so clever. And whoever was in charge of directing this movie and casting made a fantastic choice in that decision. So I'm looking forward to the cast. Before we get into the review, I want to talk about how this movie is apparently flopping. So this movie, it was made for a budget about 75 million. It's currently argued, so it's in between 75 to 147 million dollars was the budget for this film. Currently, worldwide, it's only grossed 124.2 million dollars, which just means it's made its money or it hasn't. Depends on what the budget is. Again, like I said, it's argued. Some say 75, some say it's a bit more. So it's between 75 to 147 million. So it hasn't really made its budget back, which is a shame. And obviously, I'm going to add to that tonight when I go see it. But me on my own going to see it is probably not going to make a huge dent, sadly. Which kind of leads me to the fact of what worries me, because domestically in America, it made $58,000. International, it made 58 million, sorry, and international, it made 66 million. Worldwide, it's made 124 million. And it's one of those where you hear all the good things about this film. That this movie, it's got an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's certified fresh. It's got a 98% on the popcorn meter, which means critics loved it and audiences really loved it. And from all I've heard, how much of a good film it is, and how it's one of the best Transformers movies in years ever. And that it's deep, and that it's gripping, and that the casting is incredible, and that the voice work is incredible, and everything about it is just top notch. I think basically from everything that I've heard about this film, everybody has said this is the Transformers movie that you've been waiting for your whole life, Luke. Because if you know me, and if you've listened to the review I did of the Transformers movie from the 80s, all I really want is a Transformers, Autobots, Decepticons movie. I don't want humans. I don't want people anymore. I want it set on Cybertron. I want robots against robots. I want Autobots and Decepticons like the TV show, like the movie. That's all I want. And again, I know in live action, it's hard to do because it'd be really expensive in terms of CGI, but animated would work. And from everything I've heard, this is the movie that I've always wanted. Obviously, I'm going to hold judgment till I've seen it, but I am very excited. And if everybody, and even friends of mine who are big Transformers fans, if they're all telling me that this movie is incredible, it is everything that we want and more, then I can't help not going with a little bit of hype and just excitement. It's a shame that it is apparently flopping, and yes, I probably won't make the biggest dent for me going to see it, but at least I can say, look, I went to go see it. I supported the movie. I helped to potentially, hopefully, fingers crossed, if it does get a sequel, then great, I helped towards it. And if it doesn't, sadly, at least I can say, you know what, I was there. I might not have been there day one, but I was there and I paid for my ticket and I went to go see it and I enjoyed it or not or whatever. It might be, fingers crossed, it could be the fact of, it might not make its budget, but it gets close. And because of how well it was rated or how well it did in terms of the audience liking it, it could do that. But also, what you've got to remember is the fact of, with this movie, it might not have done well in the cinema, but it might do well on streaming. And we found this with Disney Plus when Disney started putting their films out in streaming as well as in theaters. They actually found that people who would rather go to the theaters to watch the new sort of, let's say, for example, Frozen 3, for example. I know it's not out yet, but bear with me. If Disney Plus decide, okay, we'll put Frozen 3 out on Disney Plus and we'll put it out into the cinemas, what you'll find is that more people would actually want to go to the cinemas to watch it on the big screen, and then they will go home and they will pay for a Disney Plus subscription, or if they already have one, they will then watch it at home. And that's what, like Netflix has found that. So it could be the fact of, it might not have done well in cinemas, but a lot of people that didn't go to see it or went to go see it and loved it will then buy it on streaming, rent it, or or buy it digitally or physically. So it could recoup its money there, and it could actually find more success in the home market than it could in the cinema market. Again, this is all sort of hypothetical and sort of like theories at the moment. We don't really know until it gets to that point, but I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that it gets to that point that it comes out on streaming, it gets a buzz, it gets reaction. The word of mouth spreads, and because you're at home, oh yeah, I'll rent it for like £2 or 5 or how much, and then it gets its money back there. And if it does, we might see a sequel. Again, we don't know, but I just wanted to mention that this film might potentially be flopping, but if it's the Transformers movie that I've always wanted, I've got to go see it. I've got to support it. And that's what it comes down to. That's why I wanted to do this side quest, because I wanted to show my support and I wanted to talk about Transformers again. And so I'm going to go off now. My booking is this afternoon. So I'm going to go watch Transformers. And when I come back this afternoon from watching it straight from the cinema, as soon as I get home, you will hear my first impressions. So I'll see you in a minute. So, you know what sucks? You know what really upsets me and really grinds my gears is that this movie flopped. Because I will go as far as to say these two things, right? Number one, this is the best Transformers movie I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not just saying it because I'm a Transformers fan. It is the quintessential best Transformers movie ever. Like, this is the Transformers movie that I have been waiting for my whole life. This is what I've always wanted out of Transformers film. Get rid of the humans, just have Autobots versus Decepticons. Obviously, at this point in the story, there is no Autobots, there is no Decepticons, but have Transformers versus Transformer. That's all I've ever wanted, and this is what I get and more. And I'll even go as far as to say, secondly, this is the best movie I've seen this year. And granted, I haven't seen a lot of the newer movies, but of all the movies that I've seen this year, all the new films, this one tops them all as the best. It is just incredible. I think what I've come to the assumption after watching the movie now in full and on the way back home and thinking about the reason as to why this flopped, I think the reason is it was marketed wrong. It was marketed as a movie for kids. It is a kids movie, but it's not made for kids. It's made for the old guard. It's made for the veterans. It's made for the people that grew up with it in the 80s. It's made for my generation who grew up with it, watching the cartoons and then the Michael Bay movies. Like, as well as the first Transformers movie, the first animated movie, all that was to sell toys. It wasn't till like the last part of the movie that I generally sat there and went, okay, that part is to sell toys, because leading up to it, the whole story, like, it's a lot more deeper, it's a lot more darker, there's a lot more to this movie and to the characters than you would even say would be about selling toys or being a kids movie. It's so much more deeper than that. But the advertisement, I'm looking at the trailers, they advertised it as, hey, Transformers, this is a kids film. It's not a kids movie. Well, it is, but it isn't. It's the marketing let this movie down, and I feel like that is why this movie's flopping. Not because the story, because the critics love it, the audience love it. It's nothing to do with the characters, the story, the setting, anything like that. I think generally it's the marketing. It was marketed as one thing, and then the movie was another. And what the movie was, and what the movie should have been marketed as, probably would have made this movie be more successful. And I'm not just saying that because I love Transformers rose-tinted glasses. Like, generally, if you have seen this movie, you know how good it is. If you haven't seen it, please do go out and watch it if you still have the ability. I don't think it's in many cinemas in America currently, but I know it's still being shown here in the UK. So hopefully by the time you're listening to this, it's still being shown. And if it is, and if you haven't gone to see it, please do go support this movie. Go out and watch it, and just give it a go. That's all I ask. I've never done this before, and never when I watch movies do I sit there and go, I'm going to buy the DVD, because I haven't said that in years. Because now we have streaming, now we have these different avenues, different ways of getting movies and things like that. Because I've never had a need since years and years ago to say that this is the first ever time in my life, in a very, very long time, that I've actually finished a movie. As I've left it, I've gone onto Amazon to see if the Blu-ray is on sale, because I want to see this movie again. I want to own this movie. And if me paying to go see this movie isn't enough to kind of help it succeed, then hopefully then if I can buy the DVD and enough people buy the DVD, whether Blu-ray or standard or even on streaming, they can show to Paramount, show to Hasbro, whoever's making it, that there is interest and a sequel is needed, because a sequel is needed to this. Everything about this movie is top notch, and we need more of this type of Transformers. Forget what they're doing with the Beast Wars and Age of Extinction and all that crap. What they've done here with the Transformers is the direction that the IP needs to go. And I want to support that, and I want to see that growth. I want to see these characters again, these iteration of the characters, this iteration of Optimus Prime and Megatron. Oh, Megatron! I just, anything I can do to help this version of the Transformers sort of succeed, I will. And I know this is first impressions, and I haven't even got into the whole nitty gritty of it, but as you can tell in my first impressions, I am sold. This is a fantastic movie, and I absolutely love it. But let's get into it. Let's break it down a little bit, right? So, the cast. So I want to start it with the voice, because, as I said in the introduction, I'm very much the fact of I don't like it when big name celebrities come in and do the voices of characters. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm very much on the level of proper professional voice actors should be the one that comes in and do a lot of voices for characters. I think it's become too mainstream now, where you get too many high-paid actors to do it, and it just feels a bit unfair to voice actors who do it for a living. That being said, Chris Hemsworth as Orion Pax does an incredible job. Granted, you can never actually really take over for the OG voice of Optimus Prime, which is Peter Cullen. You never will. Like, he's the OG, but he's 83 years old. The man, like, he can still do the role, he can still do the voice, but he can't do it forever. So looking for somebody who could, replace is the wrong word, but somebody who could step into the role is probably a better word to use, and do it confidently and do it well. That is a hard job. And I was one of these people that goes, oh no, Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime, it just feels like, they've just plucked off another Chris from the tree and planted him into a film. But no, Chris Hemsworth, he doesn't sound like Chris Hemsworth in this. Like, generally, like I try to listen for the Hemsworthisms, shall we say, if that's even a word. But you know it's Chris Hemsworth, but at the same stage, it's not Chris Hemsworth. What he was managing to do with the character, do with the voice, is kind of like paying homage to what Peter had done, but also do something new and do something different. He's not just doing his own voice. He's actually changed it. Lack of a better word, pardon the pun, he's transformed it. But it works, and I love it. So Chris Hemsworth as Ryan Pax does a fantastic job. Brian T. Henry as D16, Megatron. Chris Hemsworth was incredible, but his performance as Megatron, his evolution with the character, and how his voice changes, and as Megatron starts to change and evolve and transform from D16 sort of decent sort of bloke, not even a bloke but transformer even, to basically being the origins of the Megatron that we know, is incredible. It's impactful. It's full of emotion. It's full of character. It's full of flaws, and that's the thing that's missing from a lot of characters nowadays, is the fact of a lot of characters don't have flaws. It's just the fact of I'm a character and I'm the hero or I'm the bad guy, but there's no real flaw. Whereas in this case with Megatron and the way he's voiced and portrayed, he has a lot of character in his voice. He has a lot of flaws. He has that idea of that belief in protocol, what's right. We should follow the rules, and you wouldn't expect that from Megatron. And it's Orion Pax, Chris Hemsworth's character, who is very much the fact of we don't follow the rules. We kind of do whatever we want to do. We should be free. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, it's Megatron. And then when he kind of gets that moment, when he turns, when he realizes that he's following the rules and everything was wrong and it was a lie, instantly his voice and his what Brian was able to do really transform and change the character with a voice. We went from using one voice to another, and instantly you could just feel the change. You didn't have to see the change on screen. You could just feel that this character's changed. And how the roles changed from like Megatron being very much the fact of screw protocol, we're going to do it my way, and down with bureaucracy and down with the leaders, we're going to be free. And then you have Orion Prax, Optimus Prime, Chris Hemsworth's character, and he changes and his voice changes and he goes being a lot more sort of less sort of not the anarchist, but sort of the free sort of rule breaking sort of person, to be somebody who's very honorable, very sort of bravado, that sort of thing, superhero sort of character, the hero character even. And these two with their voices, they just do an incredible job. Scarlett Johansson again as Elita 1, she is incredible, but Scarlett Johansson, she's always incredible anyway. Keegan-Michael Key as B127 or Bumblebee. I loved it. There was even if you've seen Key and Peele, you know the AA Ron joke. If you don't, educate yourself, go into YouTube. It's an hilarious skit. But he actually makes that joke a couple of times where it's AA-tron. And when it came up, I burst out laughing. I was like, I see what you did there. I love it. And, there's a lot of Easter eggs in this. There are tons of Easter eggs, but we'll get there. And Steve Buscemi as Starscream, like I said in the introduction, it was absolute genius. It's one of them things that you don't realize how clever something is or how genius something is until somebody mentions it. And as soon as they mention it, you're like, yeah, that's top of the board, clever. And it was like, you don't get a lot of Starscream, sadly, but when he's on screen and when Steve Buscemi is as he's doing his voice as Starscream, it just works. And I want to see, and again, this is another reason why I want to see more of this movie, this franchise, these characters, because I want more Starscream. I want more Keegan-Michael Key. I want more Brian Tyree Henry. I want more Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson. I want more of their performances. I want to see them as they evolved, as their characters evolve, where they go, and that sort of thing. Lawrence Fishburne as Alpha Trion, absolutely incredible, really, really good, solid performance. John Hamm, Sentinel Prime, incredible. Like, anybody could have played Sentinel Prime, but John Hamm and the way his voice is and the way he voices and commands the room. Like again, me being a huge Transformers fan, I knew that Sentinel Prime was going to be the bad guy. I did, because Sentinel Prime is always, I don't really want to swear, but he's always a douche. He's always a bad guy. So I knew that was going to happen. So you needed somebody who had charisma. You needed somebody who could convey the sort of feeling of leadership and sort of friendliness, but you also needed somebody who's got the charisma and who could flip, who at any moment can go from being very nice as pie, very sort of leadership and sweet, and then you need somebody who could flip and go evil and go nasty. And John Hamm does a fantastic job here, and he does that. And the moments, and even in the moments when he's being cruel and evil, he's still got the charisma at the same time, and that's what you needed for Sentinel Prime. And like the whole voice cast is just incredible. Like, everybody did a top tier job here. And that really goes into the story. Like I said, you get these characters. You get Orion Pax and D16, or I'm just going to refer them to as Optimus Prime and Megatron because it's easier. You get those two characters with their miners on Cybertron, and they sort of you've got Optimus, who is basically, like I said, he's the rule breaker. He wants to find the spark of leadership. He wants to be the hero. He wants to save the day. Whereas you've got Megatron, who's like, no, I want to follow the rules. I want to do what protocol. I don't want to get in trouble. I want to work my way up. I want to make Sentinel Prime proud of me doing it legitimate. And the only thing that really sort of bothered me, and it's the only thing that bothered me, they only bothered me because I'm a diehard fan, is that they turned Megatron D16 from a because Megatron originally was a gladiator in the gladiator arena, and then he kind of builds his character from there, and then basically being a gladiator all that time, kind of like the movie Gladiator, really, in a way, realizes that he doesn't need to take it anymore, and he rebels, and sort of that's his arc there. So they made him a minor in this one, which it doesn't bother me. Because the way that this story is told and the way his evolution and he turns into Megatron, it works so well that it's a change that I don't mind seeing. But it is one of those where like you expect him to be a gladiator, but he's a minor. But it's fine, really. And their evolution as best friends, as best buds, and the evolution of the story and of their characters as it goes on, it's incredible. I don't want to go into too much because I don't want to ruin it for people, but just even to the very end, you want them to stay friends, you want to stay bros, and there is that moment that I was getting constantly where I was like, come on, work things out. I know they wouldn't work it out because you need the Autobots and you need the Decepticons and you need Megatron to be Megatron, and you can't have them being friends and still have that rivalry. So I knew what was going to happen, but until the very end, I was just like, please work it out. Come on, change the timeline, do something, and yeah, like, so to the end, you are fighting for both of them just to work it out and to be friends. And you can, at the very end, obviously no spoilers, but there is a moment where you can just tell, like, it's gone. That friendship is gone. But it's so well done. The story is well paced. It's interesting. This is why I like going to the cinema, because there's no distractions. Like you're in your own little bubble. You can turn your phone off and you can just watch. And I did. I was just focused on the screen at all times. I wasn't looking around. I wasn't paying attention to anybody in the background or anything like that. I was zoned in. And then from the beginning to the end, I was just wow. And like I said, it wasn't until like the very end where I was just like, oh, this is the selling the toys bit. This is the badass epic conclusion, the big battle where you'd want to sell the toys. But leading up to it, it's hard hitting. It's emotional. There were moments when I'm sitting there thinking, am I going to cry over the Transformers? And I've done it before, and I will do it again. I didn't, but you have these emotional, hard hitting moments, and it's mostly between Orion Pax and D16. They are the emotional linchpin to the whole story, really, and their friendship and how it grows and evolves. That is sort of the emotional part of it, but it's so much deeper. That is brutal, and there's death and there's destruction, there's killing, there's in terms of Transformers anyway, that there are moments where there's ripping and tearing of metal and Transformers getting ripped apart and things like that. It's very brutal and it's one of those. As I was watching this movie, and this leads on to my next part I was going to mention is about presentation. Is that this movie is not presented as a kids' film. Don't get me wrong, you can take your kids to it and they'll love it and enjoy it because again, it's Transformers. But as I was watching it, I was thinking this is not made for children. The presentation and what I'm seeing on screen and all the Easter eggs and everything that's mentioned here, even like the small Easter eggs where Scarlett Johansson's character, Alita 1, she says to Orion Pax, she goes, I'm paraphrasing, but she goes, "You've got neither the touch nor the power," and just walks away. And obviously, if you're a diehard fan of Transformers and you've watched the original Transformers movie, you know that's the lyrics from the song. You've got the touch, you got the power. Yeah, that one. You know that, and there's so many more Easter eggs here and there for old fans, and stuff in there for new fans as well. But like as I was watching, there were many moments of like, this movie is made for me. This is made for the old guard, for the veterans, for the people that watched the Transformers when it first came out in the 80s. This bit's for the adults. This bit's for the parents of the children that are going to take it. And like I said, you could still enjoy it as a child, but for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people my age and older, this is the Transformers film that we've always wanted to see. It is just incredible. And like I said, I want to get this on Blu-ray, not just to support the movie, but also the presentation, the looks, the visuals. It is gorgeous. There are so many moments where, I say this a lot, but it's true. There are so many moments where you can just freeze frame. That's a poster. Freeze frame. That's going to hang up on my wall now. There are many moments where I'm like, that is gorgeous. That is beautiful. And again, watching it on a big IMAX super screen and having the sound, which the sound quality is incredible as well, having it all in your face, it's like, I want that at home as best as I can, so I want to get it on Blu-ray. I want to watch this movie again. I want to experience the beauty of Cybertron and how it all looks and the gorgeousness of it. And then at the same stage, I want to support it as well. So everything about this movie, to me, And like I said, the only small thing that they changed Megatron from a gladiator to a miner, which is only, again, pardon the pun, it's only a minor change, and it doesn't change anything. It doesn't bother me that much. But really, if that is the only thing that really, if anything, sort of caught me off guard, but everything else is fine, again, it's just a me personal thing, then that should tell you that there's no issue with this movie. Granted, like I said, I'm a big Transformers fan. This is the Transformers movie I've been waiting all my life for. So that this is all my opinion. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt. That being said, I'm not one to lie about liking something. If I like something, I will say it. If I don't, I will say it. I will always try to defend a movie, even a bad movie. I'll always try to defend it. But when a movie's great and a movie's perfect and good, like this one, I will be completely openly honest and be like, yeah, yes, you need to go watch this. I know people say a lot about movies, but this is one of them movies that I would implore people, if you have the ability to go see it and it's still being shown in your area, please do. It is generally that good. And again, that leads me on to my overall thoughts, is the fact of this was everything that I wanted to be. The voice cast was incredible. The presentation was a lot more deeper and darker and more mature than I was expecting, and I completely embrace it, and I want more of it. The looks was gorgeous. The Easter eggs, the jokes were everything landed. There wasn't a single thing where I sat there and went, that was too long, or that was too short, or that joke didn't work, or this didn't work. Like, everything just worked. And again, it comes back to what I was saying in my first impressions. What really bothers me and what really upsets me is that this movie is flopping, that nobody is going to see it. Those that have seen it have already seen it. And I don't see many people going to watch it. And it's a movie that, as currently, I think it's getting close to passing 125 to 126 million, which is still great, but it's not great considering how much it should have made, because this movie should have, I'm not saying it would be $1 billion movie, but this movie should have made 400 to 500 million. It deserves it, to be honest, if not more. So I just really hope that this movie gets some success in streaming, the word of mouth spreads. I can do the best I can to spread the word here, and that people just give it a go. Even if you miss it in the cinema, but you buy it on streaming, just at the end of the day, it's a business, and the best way that we can show to businesses, to the studios, that we want more of this is if we show it with their money. We pay with our wallets, and we show them, like, this is what we want. Because if this fails, then I don't see Paramount trying something like this again. And I fear if this doesn't work and it flops, basically, I fear what comes next, what it would look like. Would it be a paint by numbers just because they know, let's do this and this and this because we know it makes money? That's what scares me. Yeah. So please go out, support it, watch it, buy it on streaming, buy it on DVD, buy the toys, merchandise, whatever it is you've got to do to support this film. Please do, because it is absolutely incredible. It's good. It is the best Transformers movie I have ever watched in my life. And at that, I will end it. Otherwise, I will keep repeating myself. So thank you very much for joining me on this side quest episode. Hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down on Twitter at Nerdstalgic_pod, or down in the comments here on YouTube what you thought about this review, what you thought about the movie. Let's talk of all things Transformers. I want to know everybody's thoughts and opinions, not just Transformers in general, but on this movie. Do you feel like it deserves a flop? Does it not deserve to flop? Did you dislike it? Why did you dislike it? I want to start a dialogue. I generally really want to hear what people think about this movie, because I feel like it's perfect. It's incredible, and I really, really loved it and enjoyed it, and it was just great. So I want to hear what people's thoughts. If you listen to this on Spotify, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating. I'll greatly appreciate if you would. I've been your host, Luke the Autobot. You've been listening to the Nerdstalgic podcast, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.